Honda was an ugly, dirty, useless loser who spent his whole life thinking everyone around him hated him, even though in reality, every lazy boy in his class liked him. That day, when he opened his locker, a letter fell out, but he thought it was the same old middle school thread, so he crushed it and threw it in the trash. As soon as he turned around, an ugly girl, Jory, whose head was very big, came in front of him and scolded him, asking why he threw away the love letter that her friend now had stayed up all night writing. But Honda, instead of listening, thought someone wanted to fight him, and since he had no other way, he angrily asked those idiots what the hell they wanted from him. Then Mo just said to meet behind the gym after school, and Honda spent the whole day thinking about how many ways he could get beaten up by evening. He started drawing in class to relax his mind, but the teacher saw him and called him to the front to solve the hard math equation on the board, because the teacher thought Honda was great at it. Honda wrote the answer with his paintbrush without thinking and went back to his seat, wondering what answer to give to Mo and the weird Jory standing with her. Jory saw him staring at her and immediately took it the wrong way, but she didn't want to ruin her friendship with Mo either. Then Honda, without saying a word, put a letter on Jory's desk, so Jory's mind went even crazier. She got nervous and thought Honda was in love with her. That afternoon, Mo came to class to have lunch with Jory and started telling stories about how she was the most beautiful girl in school. Hearing this, Jory decided she would steal Honda from Mo. School was about to end, and Honda's mind was exploding, thinking about how to face Mo, and he wondered if he could just run away and avoid everything. But people were already standing behind the gym, so Honda picked up his bag and walked out like nothing was wrong, and went to those two girls he didn't even know were obsessed with him. He asked what this meeting was for. Jory told him to stop acting, and Mo stepped forward to give him another love letter, but Jory quickly snatched the paper from her hand and dropped it. She said it was a mistake, but then she kept doing it again and again, until she grabbed Mo and started choking her. Honda stood there surprised, while Jory kept telling him to stay away from Mo because she only looked innocent but had a black heart, and also that Mo didn't deserve him. Her head was like a building block. Honda had no idea what she was talking about. Then Jory pinned Mo to the ground and started doing very inappropriate things to show how much pain there would be if something happened between Honda and Mo. In the end, she told him to forget both of them and move on with his life. Honda was tired of their stupid fight, so he just turned around and walked away like nothing happened. While leaving, he told him to value their friendship before anything else, and when Mo tried to force him to read the letter, Honda brushed her off and told her to send it to Santa. After that, Mo kept crying until it was evening. Jory didn't like seeing her friend like that, so she said they would work together to make a love letter that Honda couldn't ignore. The next day, the teacher said there would be voting for the new class rep. Esau was sure he would win again because he had held that position for the last 10 years. But this time, because of Honda's sudden popularity, Honda was also nominated, and Esau started thinking what would happen if Mr. started. Heartbreaker stole his title. On the other hand, Honda thought the class just wanted to make his life harder by nominating him, but he quietly went along because he hoped Isawa would beat him. When the votes were counted, the teacher saw that Isawa and Honda both had the same number of votes, so he said they would break the tie with a simple game of rock, paper, scissors. Isawa got angry, thinking how such an important decision could be made with a kid's game, but when the whole class said they didn't care, Isawa agreed, because he wanted to win no matter what. Honda told Isawa right away that he would throw rock every time. Everyone was surprised to hear this, and Isawa started thinking if Honda was telling the truth or trying to trick him. In the end, Isawa ignored what Honda said, but he lost the first round. Then he started begging the teacher for another chance like a sad little boy. This time, in the second round, he won against Honda. Now both had 1 point, and in the last round Isawa could have just thrown paper and won, but he got stuck thinking about different results. He trusted his brain again, and Honda beat him without any effort. Honda thought Isawa had played some trick to dump this responsibility on him, so he said he wouldn't be class rep because he had more important things to do. But Isawa stopped him and said he couldn't just leave like that. Honda told him to do something with his life, and then walked out of the class. Everyone thought Honda was being rude, but Isawa actually supported Honda and said Honda's attitude had taught him the real meaning of leadership. Because of this, Isawa decided to give the position back to Honda. When Honda came back and saw his name written on the board, he got very angry because he thought the whole class hated him and was forcing this job on him on purpose. But Isawa explained that he had resigned for Honda himself and told him not to worry, he would do all the work even without being class rep. At that moment, all the girls outside the class were going crazy over a new student, Rio. Rio was a handsome teen model with long hair, shiny skin, and a very attractive smile. He was famous for being the hottest boy in school, But ever since Honda suddenly became more popular, Rio had to share his fan base with this strange, lonely boy who had no sense of clothes. Rio asked the girls who was hotter, Honda or him. The girls said Rio's face was more beautiful, but Honda was more attractive because he was mysterious and gentle. Hearing this made Rio furious, so he decided he would follow Honda all day and see what was so special about him. All Rio saw was that Honda had a weird obsession with street cats. He followed him to a local market where modeling agents were secretly looking for new talent. Rio thought Honda would steal his job too, so he ran ahead so the agents wouldn't catch Honda. But a fashion scout slapped Rio in the face and went straight to Honda, handed him a jacket, and said if he signed the contract, he would become the most popular man in the world. Honda thought his actions were strange, so he took the jacket and wrapped it around Rio, saying that poor and homeless street boys also deserve to wear good clothes. Honda left, but Rio felt something inside him change that day. Then he decided to quit his modeling job and started following the path of the man who taught him the meaning of a selfless life. The next morning, Isawa gave Honda a package and told him to deliver it to a student named Akane, who hadn't come to school for the last year. Honda wondered why such a good-looking boy would leave school. When he reached the apartment, he knocked on the door, but there was no answer. He was about to leave the package and go when suddenly a very big man appeared and asked in a harsh voice what he was looking for there. Honda said he didn't want any trouble and was just there to deliver a package for Akane. But Honda was shocked when the fat bouncer said he was Akane. Honda was surprised how the cute boy in the picture had suddenly turned into such a strange giant. Akane told Honda his story, that at school, everyone bullied him because of his girly face. No boy wanted to sit with him, and the girls hated him because he looked more beautiful than them. In the end, Akane left school and locked himself in his room. Then he saw a bodybuilding ad on TV, so he decided he would work out every day until he became strong and heavy. After some time, he became so strong that he could beat up all the gang leaders in his area. Now Akane was an unbeatable man that people around him were scared of, so he said he didn't need to go to school anymore, and not even the police could send him back. But Honda didn't care about what he said, he just handed him the package. Akane misunderstood and thought Honda was challenging him to a fight. He started watching Honda closely, thinking Honda might attack him suddenly, and just as Akane was about to strike, some street thugs suddenly attacked both of them. Honda just handed over the package and calmly walked away, but for some strange reason, Akane thought Honda would fight with him. He started beating up the thugs alone and imagined in his head that Honda was helping him too. One thug tried to stop Honda, but as soon as he saw Honda's vampire-like eyes, he backed off by himself. Then they all realized this was the same infamous Honda they had heard stories about. They didn't want to mess with Honda, so they all ran away immediately. When Akane opened the package, he understood that Honda had risked his life just to show him that he should come back to school. So the next morning, Extra Large finally returned to school. Meanwhile, Isawa was still wondering how he got so big, and Akane secretly promised himself that he would always protect Honda. Later that day, everyone gathered for practical cooking class, and Kondo, who was the most average boy in school, got scared when he saw he was in a group with Honda and the rest of the weird people. Isawa and the other boys said they would do all the work themselves so Honda could sit like a king, but Kondo saw worry on Honda's face and started thinking if Honda really wanted that. They started a fancy recipe, but Kondo saw Honda mixing all the worst things together to make pudding cups. Akane, to let out his anger, started attacking the other boys, and before anyone could understand what was happening, Honda set the kitchen on fire while trying to make fries. The head chef told everyone to get out or someone would get hurt. Isawa and the others were worried about Honda, but Kondo quickly grabbed the fire extinguisher and put out the fire. The boys thought Honda had set the fire on purpose so they wouldn't fight with each other. Then they opened the fridge and took out the pudding cups Honda had made especially. Kondo tried to stop them from eating, but even though the taste was unbearable, Isawa and the others kept eating, because for them, everything Honda made was perfect. Later that day, the girl sitting next to Honda didn't see that her eraser rolled under Honda's desk. Honda got so nervous about returning it that he just gave her a new eraser. This small kindness was enough for Muko, and she became obsessed with Honda. After class, Honda went shopping with his friend Kawafuji. He was picking up paper for his next artwork when some girls entered the shop, and Honda, thinking someone might see him with Kawafuji, immediately started hiding between the shelves. When the girls left, Honda told Kawafuji that if people found out he was friends with the most disliked boy in school, Kawafuji's reputation would be ruined. But Kawafuji had no idea what world Honda was living in. Honda kept hiding from girls everywhere, until they reached a cafe where both ordered different drinks, and Kawafuji told Honda to stop hiding. Honda was surprised that Kawafuji didn't care what people thought about their friendship. But Handa didn't know that one big reason for his fear of girls was Kawafuji himself. In middle school, Kawafuji's heart was broken when the girl he liked told him to deliver a love letter to Handa. To get revenge, Kawafuji told Handa that the girl was spreading embarrassing things about him. He was about to say it was a joke, but Handa took it to heart and decided all girls were bad. The next day at school, Handa heard some girls talking about how they bought a cute poem from Handa in the park, but Handa didn't have the courage to tell them it wasn't really him. The girls put the poem on the board. Handa felt embarrassed himself seeing how bad it was, and Honda's fanboys thought the writing style was strange, so they decided to investigate. They went to the park and found a boy who looked like Handa selling poems and fooling people by pretending to be Handa. Akane got angry and punched him right away. Ryo also slapped him a few times, and Isawa got ready to cut his hair with scissors, until he told the truth that he was a crazy fan of Handa. His name was Ki, and he was obsessed with copying Handa, even learning his way of walking, talking, and making art. Meanwhile, two girls came to Kei, thought he was the real Handa, and made a very rude and inappropriate offer to him. Then, in a few seconds, more girls came, and Ki couldn't handle it, so he dropped his Handa look, showing his real face and big front teeth. The girls left right away because they realized he was a fake. The boys also felt sorry that Ki's fanboy dreams broke so quickly. They brought him back to school so he could apologize, but as soon as Ki entered the class, he saw a note from Handa on the board telling him to stop copying others and focus on his own useless life. Ki cried a lot and said he would now use a new strategy, and after fixing his teeth, he would look even more like Handa. At the same time, outside the class, two senior girls were about to jump on Handa when they saw him getting a gift from a very beautiful woman, and they thought she was his girlfriend. They took a picture of both and posted it on Twitter, and soon all the girls in school started hating Handa, thinking he had stopped his playboy ways and was now after an older woman. When he came back to class, he saw strange writing on his desk. Later, Isawa and the other boys came to see, and it turned out to be a self-harm message from one of his fangirls. At that moment, a boy came in and said Miyoko was about to jump from the top floor of the building, so all the kids ran outside to stop her. Miyoko started singing there, saying that the day Handa gave her a new eraser, her whole life changed, and now her grades were bad because she thought about his face all the time. Then she said that now Handa had left her and chosen another woman, so she didn't want to live and she would sacrifice her life for Handa's gods. As she was about to step forward, she saw Handa standing right behind her. Handa had no idea what was going on, but Miyoko was just waiting for him to apologize. Handa talked to his desk like it was a person and said not to feel bad about what happened and nothing could take its place. Miyoko thought he was saying this to her, so she started crying and decided to live. Her friends came to hug her. Later, when Miyoko was crying near the fountain, Handa's girlfriend came to her and asked for the place of the PTA meeting. Then Miyoko found out that the woman was not Handa's girlfriend, but his mother, so she ran to tell the other fangirls. When Handa was stuck in a meeting with the teacher and his mother, both told him to mix more with his classmates. But no matter how hard Handa tried, his classmates thought he was too perfect for them and reacted in strange ways. In the end, he thought at least he could be friends with Kondo. He sounded a bit awkward while talking, but Kondo replied nicely, and Handa went home feeling like he had won a Nobel Prize. After the break, when school started again, the vice principal scolded two girls for walking around the school ground, but the girl accused him back, saying he was trying to peek. At that moment, the student body president, Miss Sako, came and threatened the vice principal that she would reveal his embarrassing account secret, so the old man quietly left. The girls saw Sako as a hero and gave her gifts, and Sako felt proud that she was a role model for girls, but as soon as she saw Handa passing by with his group, she got angry. Sako thought all boys were dirty, and she couldn't stand that Handa easily got the attention of her follower girls, so she made a plan to bring Handa down. At the next student body meeting, Sako called two senior girls who were known as the most dangerous in school, and told them to trap Handa until he started begging. Both accepted the challenge, but as soon as they tried to jump on Handa, he stopped them in the middle and said they should focus on their health instead of chasing after him. Actually, he was talking to stray cats, but his words had such an effect on the girls that they stopped their actions and went back to Sako, saying they couldn't do this mission. Sako got even angrier and ordered her council to bring Handa in. When Handa came, Sako said his punishment for stealing her followers was that he would wear a girl's uniform for the whole year. Handa didn't understand anything and started wondering why this trouble came to him. The student body vice president told him to just wear the skirt calmly. Handa thought the whole school would make fun of him, so he ran away, but Sako and her team kept chasing him in the hallway. They surrounded him from all sides, the vice president grabbed him and threw him down, and Handa slipped on the stairs and fell right on top of Sako, like a scene from a love story. When Sako woke up, she felt disgusted that she was lying on top of Honda, but her girls told her Honda had saved her from a big injury. Then Sako suddenly realized she was starting to have feelings for this loser boy. Then she hit the vice president for a rude action and left with her friends. At that moment, Aizawa came to save Honda and found out that a big part of Honda's memory was gone. Ryo and Ina saw Honda walking strangely in the hallway and were also surprised. Aizawa said his memory was partly lost and would come back in a week. Honda heard this and said not to worry. In this state, he couldn't do anything himself, and all he remembered was that he was the most popular boy in school. Ina started crying because he thought his innocent mentor was slowly becoming self-obsessed, so Aizawa said they would find a way to bring his memory back faster. Honda tested his rizz in the hallway by flirting with different girls, but as soon as he agreed to kiss, the girls lost interest, because for them, the real Honda would reject them right away. Miyoko also came to ask for a kiss, but Honda got scared seeing her and ran away. Aizawa read some books and said the best way to bring back Honda's lost memory was to hit him hard on the head. After escaping from Miyoko, Honda started thinking that being popular wasn't a good thing anyway, because now his life was worse than before, even worse than when no one cared about him. He was still thinking this when Aina came from behind and almost knocked him down with a hammer, saying this was the only way to fix everything. Honda started running, then Aizawa and Ryo also chased him with hammers, until he was surrounded from all sides. Voices started echoing in Honda's head that everyone hated him. And just as Aizawa and the others were about to hit him, Honda slipped on the stairs again and fell down. When he got up, his memory had come back, and since he thought the whole school was after him to beat him up, he looked at Aizawa and the others with a strange smile and walked away. Honda was worried that his school life was turning into a battlefield, so Kawafuji told him to go out and have some fun later. But Honda had to dress up as an ugly woman to hide from his enemies so no one would recognize him. Kawafuji's friend Hasegawa also joined them, and Honda told them his name was Hanzawa to keep his real identity hidden. All day, he kept telling Kawafuji he was scared to hang out with someone who wasn't like him, but Kawafuji told him to stop worrying and just relax, because he wanted Honda to make new friends and stop being lonely. Hasegawa wanted to win a special prize that was given only if someone got perfect points in bowling, darts, and basketball, all 3 games. Honda got nervous because he had never played these games before. He went to help with bowling, but ended up making a fool of himself in front of everyone. Then Kawafuji showed how it was done and hit 3 strikes in a row like a pro athlete. In the next game, Honda wanted to prove his worth in front of Hasegawa. Kawafuji didn't do well there, but Honda pulled himself together and, even with his dark shades on, hit 3 bullseyes in a row and surprised everyone. The last game was basketball, and since Hasegawa was good at it, he handled it himself and hit a 3-point shot in 1 try, winning the grand prize. Kawafuji went to get drinks. After he left, Hasegawa tried to get closer to Honda and said he could give him comic books if he wanted. Honda was happy to have a friend like that. But then some senior bullies from the basketball team came, pushed Hasegawa to the ground, and took his special prize. Honda just stood there watching, and Hasegawa kept taking their rudeness. Kawafuji was nowhere to be seen, so Honda quickly changed into his normal clothes and scared the seniors so much that they quietly gave Hasegawa's prize back and left. Hasegawa was surprised that Honda actually stood up for him. When Kawafuji came back with drinks, Hasegawa told him the whole story like it was a superhero movie. In all the excitement, Hasegawa forgot about Hanzawa, so he told Kawafuji to give some comic books to Hanzawa, not knowing that Hanzawa and Honda were actually the same person. Meanwhile, on the sports field, all the athletes were training for a big race, but no one was as fast as the school's top runner, Kotaro Higashino, known as Dash. People saw him as a hero because he had turned down a sports scholarship from the country's best school, but no one knew Dash only stayed here to get revenge on his enemy Honda. In middle school, Honda had beaten him in a race, and since Dash couldn't accept losing at that time, he thought Honda had cheated to win. That's why he promised himself he would get revenge one day. Dash asked Honda for a rematch, but at the last moment, he got scared and started crying, so Ki said he would run in the next race wearing a mask as Honda's replacement. But as soon as Ki put on the mask, Dash went full speed and ran the track in a record 10 seconds. He was thankful to Ki, but he still needed to race the real Honda. They tried to make Honda run by setting a fire in the hallway to scare him, but Honda just covered his nose and got out safely through the smoke. In the end, Dash's trainer scolded him not to waste his time trying to win a small race against Honda. She said a career as a pro athlete was more important, and his friends would always be with him and support him. Dash decided he would now focus on taking his team to nationals, But when he saw Honda running home like a comic book speedster, he forgot all his promises and chased after him with full power. In the end, Dash managed to beat him in the race, but when Honda suddenly changed direction, Dash realized he was running away from something, and in that moment, a stray dog jumped on Dash and he fell badly. The next day at school, Miyoko asked her friend Sugumi to read her palm. When Sugumi told her things exactly right, she started testing her skill on the rest of the class. But she wanted a bigger challenge, so she went to Aizawa and the other boys and asked them to arrange a palm reading session with Honda. The boys said Honda wasn't into that kind of thing, but Honda heard them. To help, he sat at his desk pretending to nap, so Sugumi could easily read his palm. When Sugumi saw his palm, she was shaken inside because she saw neither popularity nor confidence in Honda's aura. She thought Honda was living a very sad and bad life, but she lied to the boys and said Honda would face life alone and conquer many problems. Then, jokingly, she also said Honda would have many children and his life would be like an American rapper, so the boys were happy that Honda's life was going to be superstar style. When midterms ended, the class teacher, Mr. Ama, announced that the results were out, and those who got bad marks should work hard because there would be a makeup exam next week. Then he started handing out report cards. Most kids were happy, but Ryo and Hanada were upset because they failed. After school, everyone decided to make a study plan for them, and Aizawa named the meeting place Honda Force Headquarters. Everyone was happy except Kondo, who said it was wrong to make a club in Honda's name without telling him, but the rest ignored him. Aizawa showed his report card, where he came first in the midterm, and promised he would spend his time to help Ryo and Hanada pass the makeup. Then everyone started wondering how many marks Honda got, because they thought he would definitely come first. But Aizawa said, maybe Honda made some mistakes on purpose to avoid attention. Everyone decided they would make Honda happy. On the day of the exam, all the students taking the makeup were told to gather in the class, so Dash and Ki also came. Dash failed because he spent more time running than studying, and K failed because instead of writing his own name on the answer sheet, he wrote Honda's name. Ki wanted to sit in Honda's chair to get the real Honda feeling, and Dash wanted the same chair, so they started fighting. Hinata and Ryo stopped them, saying that chair was only for the real Honda, and in the middle of the fight, Honda himself entered the class, shocking everyone. Mr. Ama told everyone to sit in their seats. Everyone was surprised why Honda was taking the makeup, because they thought he was the smartest. But the truth was, for the first time, Honda forgot to write his name on the paper, so Mr. Ama forced him to take the test again. When the makeup started, Honda started making scratching sounds with his pencil like he was drawing, not writing. The other students started looking at him and immediately began copying him. They went so crazy that they started filling in answers quickly without caring if they were right or wrong, just to make the same sound so they would seem like Honda. When time was up, everyone handed in their papers and left. Later, Aizawa asked Akane and Ryo how the test went, and they said it went great because Honda was there and they felt like he was supporting them. The next day, the results came and Akane and Ryo had good marks. They thanked Aizawa, but Aizawa said the credit went to Honda. Kondo asked why, so Aizawa said Honda did badly on the first exam on purpose, so he could be with the people who really failed and give them support. At the same time, in the school library, a lonely girl named Kasumi also liked Honda. Now, not many kids came to the library, but Kasumi didn't care because she only noticed Honda. Because of low interest, the library's budget was also cut, so Kasumi bought some romance novels with her own money and changed their covers to look like art drawing books, so Honda would borrow them by mistake. Her plan worked, and Honda took the book, thinking it would help his drawing. After Honda left, Aizawa and the other boys came to the library, hoping to find him there. They also started looking for books, but Akane accidentally dropped some of the books Kasumi had bought, so Kasumi got nervous and yelled at him. Seeing Kasumi protect those books, Ryo decided that Kasumi had bought those romance novels just to trap Honda. Then Kasumi herself started talking about a fantasy world, saying Honda was her Prince Charming, and she would make the library better so Honda would come again and like her. The boys decided to help Kasumi and started filling the library with books from different genres so the place would look better. When the kids heard about the new Gen Z library, everyone rushed inside. Kasumi got more orders than before, but now Honda couldn't come to the library because it was too crowded. Later, when Honda came to return the book, he told Kasumi that the content inside didn't match the cover, and Kasumi asked him if he still found the book interesting. Honda surprised her by saying he was impressed by her hard work and dedication to the library, and hearing this made Kasumi shine with happiness inside, because she thought Honda had finally noticed all her effort. But she was also embarrassed about changing the book covers, so she said she would order new books for everyone in the school except Handa. Handa took it the wrong way and thought he was banned from the library forever. When he told his friend, Kawafuji said he was an idiot for not realizing Kasumi was crazy about him, and then also said not to worry, she was ugly anyway. Later that day, Sugumi tried to convince him to go on the field trip with the rest of the class because it would be a good chance to meet new people and make friends. Handa agreed and started to go with them. Meanwhile, some students from another high school were discussing how to spend their break, so their most popular boy, Itami, said they would also go on a field trip. While they were talking, Handa's candy slipped and landed on Jimoto's hair, so he got even angrier and was about to hit Handa. Just then, Ichimiya came and stopped him. Then he apologized to everyone for the rudeness, and he was so gentle and charming that all the girls blushed and started laughing. When someone asked who this handsome boy was, Aizawa told Akane that Ichimiya was the most popular student at Shiro High School, and he was like Handa, he was seen as the king of his school. When they reached the field trip place, the teachers told everyone to look around and come back before curfew. On the way, Handa and his classmates met a fortune-telling woman. They decided to pay a small fee to ask about their future, and everyone was most curious about what would be written in Handa's fortune. But just then, the Shiro High students rudely interrupted. They wanted to make Handa look lower in front of Ichimiya, and they did, because Ichimiya's slip said he would get all the blessings in the world. But the others didn't know this was all a plan by his rotten classmates. That night, everyone went to their rooms to sleep. Handa and his friends had a separate room. They were sleeping when something came in through the window and fell inside. When they turned on the light, there was a scary doll lying there. Tsutsui was sure that Ichimiya and his group were behind it, so he said they should teach them a lesson. But the strange thing was that Handa was sleeping deeply. Then everyone decided it was better to just go back to sleep, thinking Handa would say to stay calm in a situation like this. The next morning, the tour started again. Handa saw a group of romantic girls walking with Ichimiya, and for no reason, he started following them. The girls kept asking Ichimiya to take photos with them, and Mr. Handsome agreed. When it was Handa's turn, Ichimiya handed him a costume and said it would be fun. But actually, during the photo, Ichimiya secretly stuck a candy in Handa's hair to get revenge for what happened with Jimoto on the train. Then, when it was time to take off the costume, Handa had a big problem, because the candy had glued his hair to the clothes. Luckily, Kondo came and helped him get it out. That night, Handa took Kondo to the gift shop so he could buy a present for his crush. There, he saw Ichimiya's group below and started warning Handa, but Handa had already disappeared. In the gift shop, Handa liked a stylish pen and wanted to buy it, but the pen fell under the table. When he tried to get it, his hand got stuck like in a comedy movie, and he couldn't pull it out even after trying hard. Tomoto and his boys saw this and helped him get his hand out. Handa was about to thank them when Kondo quickly pushed him back before they could realize he was Handa. Ichimiya's group didn't understand what just happened. They asked Kondo if he had seen Handa. Kondo pointed to a guy far away and got them out of there. Then he ran to Handa, who was still recovering, and apologized for pushing him. Just then, Kamichi came toward them, so Kondo quickly put a trash bag over Handa's face so he wouldn't be recognized. Kamichi warned Kondo not to get in the way of Ichimiya's plan. Kondo tried to explain that Handa wasn't a bad guy and the train thing was just a mistake. But Kamichi laughed and said he would enjoy seeing who would win the popularity war, Ichimiya or their useless Handa. The next day, Ichimiya met Handa and asked if he ever got tired of meeting people's expectations. Handa said he didn't even understand what he was talking about. Still, Ichimiya reached out his hand and asked if they could be friends. Handa said it would feel strange to be friends with such a popular boy, and anyway, he already had good friends in his own class. Hearing this, Ichimiya realized there were people around him who really cared about him, but he always saw them as less. He apologized for treating them as subordinates instead of friends. But Kamichi didn't like that Ichimiya was backing off, so he decided to take matters into his own hands. He ran forward to attack Handa, but Kondo slapped him hard. Ichimiya immediately stepped in and apologized for his friend's behavior, then said there would be no more rivalry between the two schools. But no one noticed that Handa was floating face down in the lake, as if he had passed out. Back at their school, the board refused to let Mr. Ama do frog dissection in biology practical class because there were too many complaints from parents. Mr. Store Ama was annoyed by this decision, so he stopped Handa and Aizawa in the hallway and told them to collect signatures from students to bring back the dissection part. He was sure that because of Handa's popularity, the kids would agree. Handa didn't really like the dissection either, but he wasn't brave enough to say no to the teacher. When they reached the class, Aizawa stood in front of everyone and told the students why frog dissection was important, but the class was divided because many kids were still against it. Then, everyone asked Handa for his opinion. Not wanting to disappoint Mr. Amma, Handa said he would take part in the dissection practical himself. Hearing this, everyone signed the petition, and the dissection program was brought back. On dissection day, Mr. Ayama was so happy that he hugged Handa to show his thanks. During this, Handa dropped his frog and a small accident happened. Then suddenly, all the frogs started jumping out of their jars, and chaos broke out in the class. The students panicked and started running everywhere to save themselves. In the middle of this mess, the teacher saw that Akane was bleeding. But Akane told everyone to listen carefully, because Handa suddenly started talking as if he was under the effect of a frog. He started saying that dissection was a very cruel thing to do to innocent frogs. Because of Honda's words, Mr. Honda's words, AMA and the students, then everyone released the frogs back into the river, and while staying in the field, they collected flowers instead and made a herbarium. Mr. AMA realized then that he had been wrong from the start. He wanted the kids to learn kindness through dissection, but the kids learned it on their own, without hurting the frogs. Honda woke up in the clinic. When school ended, he started walking home, but Aizawa secretly started following him to make sure he got home safely. A few minutes later, Honda suddenly ran away, so Aizawa thought someone was stalking him, even though the one hiding in the shadows and following was Aizawa himself. At Honda Force headquarters, Aizawa told everyone his suspicion, and they all made a plan to catch whoever was stalking Honda. The next day after school, they split into two groups and hid on the roads Honda used to go home so they could surround the criminal from all sides. By chance, Honda came on the route covered by Aizawa and Kondo. Both started walking behind him, but Kondo said instead of hiding, they should just walk with him, or people would think they were the stalkers. Aizawa said Honda Force worked from the shadows. In the middle of this argument, there was a sound in the bushes, so both thought it was the stalker. They were about to attack when Miyoko came out of the bush. Kondo said she was the stalker, her face looked suspicious. But Aizawa explained she was also there to protect Honda. Aizawa also said Miyoko now called herself Eraser, because she took care of girls who were too obsessed with Honda and made them disappear like an eraser. At that moment, Kasumi was going to Honda's house to give him new romance novels, but as soon as Miyoko saw her, she stopped her with her lasso. Aizawa and Yuki kept following Honda, but Honda ran so fast that they lost him. Aizawa made a whistle sound with his hand and told Dash to chase him, but even with his speed, Dash could not catch Honda. Dash came back and gave the bad news. At the same time, Ryo and Akane also arrived. They looked strange and asked what happened. They said the stalker tricked them and locked them in the dog cage, then released an angry dog that chewed them like toys. Miyuko also came, and everyone was thinking of a new plan when Handa came to jump the fence, but he saw them standing on the other side. He thought they had stopped following him, but this time, Handa did not run. He stood there and shouted that they should stop following him, that they were all obsessed with him like creeps, and he was already late to meet his only friend. Hearing this, Kondo was shocked and understood that the real stalkers were actually them. But Aizawa was still stuck in his own thoughts and said to keep searching until the real stalker was found. Later, Kondo saw everyone whispering about him, so he felt very anxious and went to Ryo to improve his self-confidence. Ryo told him to have fun with some girls, but Yuki was not interested and started reading his favorite book. At the same time, Kondo saw a letter on his desk with a heart sticker. He immediately thought it was a love letter. He opened it and found out it was from a girl named Mikey, and she wrote to meet her behind the gym after school. Kondo started wondering if it was really a love letter or a joke. When he talked to Akane, that exec said it was a challenge and to be a man and get ready to risk his life in a fight. But Aizawa read the letter and said it was really a love letter, because Mikey wasn't the joking type, just average in looks, maybe 5'10". Ryo told Kondo to celebrate, this was the biggest day of his life, and even styled his hair for him. Aizawa said to take flowers for the girl to make the mood romantic. Everyone was staring at Kondo, and Kondo thought maybe he was getting popular because of Honda Force, so he happily went behind the gym to meet his future girlfriend. But when he got there, Mikey told him straight to his face that he was just an average student, and he should stop pretending to be part of Honda Force, because no girl would ever like him. This hit Kondo like an arrow in the chest, and it was like his heart stopped. His friends quickly surrounded him and tried to cheer him up so he would forget Mikey. But the strange thing was, Kondo calmly said he already knew this would happen, because an average boy had no chance with a hot girl like Mayaki. He kept himself together on the outside, but then lost control and ran away. His friends realized he wasn't okay, so they ran after him. While thinking about leaving Honda Force, Kondo bumped into Honda. Honda thought he was the same guy who knocked him down on the field trip. Kondo saw the flowers in Honda's hand and asked what they were for. Honda said he would use them to annoy people. Kondo realized he was just trying to act tough, so he gave him a gift card as an apology for the push on the field trip. When Kondo came back to his friends, they were happy he was normal again. But they didn't know that Honda's strange, shy nature actually made Kondo feel more secure about himself. Meanwhile, when Honda opened the card, the writing accidentally smudged and the words turned into something that looked like jackass. Honda thought Kondo had tricked him, so his hate grew even more. At the same time, in another part of the school, there was a club of artistic boys who spent all their time drawing cute girls' manga, but none of their books ever sold. Aizawa came into the studio and said that since this club was the most useless thing in the whole school, the student council would no longer give them funding. They asked why the club was being shut down, and Aizawa said because the club couldn't make any money for the school. Aizawa showed the club members a pile of old, unsold manga and said it wasn't the people's fault. They should make something that sells. Then he suggested making a manga about Honda because he was the most popular in school. The club members got so excited they kicked him out and started planning, but then remembered that according to their club rules, they could only make cute girls. One fat boy in the group said they should try making Honda into a cute girl. The problem was, Honda was often alone, so it was hard to get his design right. Then the club president, Neo, said everyone should interview Honda separately, make their own manga, and then pick the best of the three to publish. Neo went to Honda in the hallway and, to bring out his real nature, took out a doll in a swimming dress, trying to tempt Honda for a reaction. Honda found the show strange, but still said the doll was beautiful. But when Neo tried to do something rude with the doll's clothes, Honda immediately took his napkin and covered the doll, saying women should be treated with respect. Hearing this, Neo felt ashamed, apologized to the doll, and promised he would make a good and respectable manga about Honda. A week later, the club members sat with their manga. Everyone was shocked by one guy's manga because he showed Honda's girl version in a very inappropriate and vulgar way. Neo got angry that Honda's clean nature was made dirty, so a fight started. Then the youngest member, Taki, showed his manga, which was an intergalactic love story, but Neo didn't like that either and got mad at him too. In the end, Neo showed his manga, where Honda was shown as a kind character with a good backstory. Everyone agreed that Neo's manga was the best. Then the problem was that the manga accidentally fell with the old manga, and later Honda picked it up with the recycling trash. When the club members met Aizawa in the hallway, they were about to show him the manga, but it was missing. Everyone panicked and ran after the trash truck. When Honda heard about it, he realized he had accidentally thrown away their hard work. The club members sat down tired, but at that moment, Honda ran after the truck and got it to stop. While searching through the papers, some prototype pages flew into the air. Honda caught one page and was shocked when he saw it, because it showed his own girl version in a very vulgar and embarrassing way. A few months passed and the next school festival was coming. The student council president Saka changed the festival's name to Honda Festival. The students weren't happy with this name, and everyone understood she was doing it to impress her crush Honda. Aizawa told the class to try their best to win the top award at the festival. Ryo said they should dress up as maids, and Akane said they should do boxing. In their opinion, there should be a boxing tournament, but the girls wanted to do Romeo and Juliet. Ryo immediately agreed to Romeo and Juliet because he had wanted to play Juliet since childhood, and Kondo started wondering why he had that interest. When they couldn't decide on one idea, they left the final decision to Honda because he was the class rep, and gave him 3 options to choose from. The pressure gave Honda a headache. Kondo saw this and tried to help by adding another option, but that just made Honda more confused. In his panic, he blurted out that he wanted the game where boys wear girls' clothes. As soon as the class girls heard this, they got very excited, but Honda realized his mistake and ran away to save himself. He sat by the stairs thinking what to do, when Saka came and advised him to be more of a dictator and just choose what he thought was right, not caring about what people thought. Honda got even more confused just seeing her new hairstyle, but Saka told him to help with painting and murals for the festival using his art skills. Honda agreed and was ready to work hard for free. As she left, Saka told him again to stay strong in his decision. With new energy, Honda walked back into the class with open arms, but the room was empty. Aizawa told him the class had already made a decision without him. The next day, when Honda tried to help, Aizawa told him to just sit and relax, but Honda felt like they wanted to get him out of the way. Then his classmates really did leave him alone at school. Honda got angry that no one even tried to wake him up. He was staring at a cat outside when some thugs tried to attack him, but luckily Honda Force came and saved him. The next day, when the drama roles were handed out, Rio argued that he would play Juliet. Aizawa said Akane should be Juliet because he had more weight in his body. Handa saw he was given a role with no lines, just a commentator-type part. Handa asked about it, and Aizawa said just sit and watch, we have something special planned for you. The girls were ready to sacrifice their hair to make a wig for Honda's role, and the boys were practicing acting like Handa, but Handa was sad that he couldn't have fun with his class. Finally, the festival arrived. Kawafuji was helping in the arts section. Then he and Kei Sawada came to see what Honda's class was doing. They ordered drinks and sat down to watch the drama. When the play started, Rio played Romeo and Akane was Juliet. As soon as they hugged, the audience thought Romeo would be crushed under Juliet's heavy body. Then a musical show started in the middle. Romeo was spun and lifted in the air, and the King Lear character also came in, looking worried about all the mess and saying some wise things. Hearing this, Juliet left Romeo and drank the poison bottle. When Romeo woke up, he was broken, that his love had died. The audience kept telling him to be strong, but Romeo didn't listen to anyone and decided to die with her. Then suddenly, the scene flipped, because a character from another story entered the wrong universe and changed reality, which brought Juliet back to life, and she stopped Romeo. Meanwhile, Honda Force was catching their breath outside when some students came and said Honda was in trouble because Shirohai's thugs were looking for him everywhere, and that idiot was calmly eating in a corner. The thugs were asking everyone where Honda was, and when they thought they found him, it turned out to be just his lookalike. Then, out of nowhere, many Honda clones also appeared. Their leader Ryu grabbed Kei and threatened him to tell Honda's location or he would be punished badly, but Kei said he would never betray Honda. At that moment, Dash came and stupidly gave away Honda's location, saying he was in the 7th grade room. Ryu and his guys immediately ran there. On the way, they met Sugi, who said something very bad was coming for them. She looked at Ryu's palm with her lens and told him his whole life would be filled with darkness. Hearing her scary words, they all got scared and ran away. When Miyoko and Kasumi heard that some thugs were after Honda, they also decided to work together to stop them. At the same time, Kei warned Aizawa and the others that Ryu's people knew Honda's location, and if they really wanted to save him, they should hurry. Meanwhile, Ichimiya and his group also came to the festival, excited to see Romeo and Juliet. But backstage, Honda was thinking about how to make his role better instead of just sitting in an old woman's costume. Ryu and his thugs came looking for Honda, but couldn't find him anywhere, because Honda was hiding inside the castle prop. He heard their voices and thought the play had started, so he started rehearsing his lines while sitting there. The thugs sat down and waited for Honda to come out. Then, when Ichimiya's group arrived, the atmosphere got so tense that Jimoto lost control and punched a boy, and then everyone started fighting. Meanwhile, Honda kept his ears closed and waited for the signal. When Aizawa and the others rushed in and there was a loud noise, Honda broke out of his fake castle and ordered everyone to stop fighting. But then he thought he came out too early, so he went back inside, out of embarrassment. After that, everyone felt bad. So Ryu and his guys said they didn't come to hurt Honda, but to respect him, because ever since Honda scared them in front of Akane's house, they had lost their old confidence, so they came to surrender to Honda. Ichimiya's people also started apologizing for starting a fight for no reason, but at that moment, everyone saw Ryu lying unconscious on the ground because Miyoko and her new partner had taken him down. At night, when the festival was ending, Sako thanked everyone and said it was time to give out awards. First, the Best School Club Award went to Neo and his manga club because they sold 5,000 copies of the Honda manga in one day. Then, when the Best Class Performance was announced, Sako said Honda's class had won for the Romeo and Juliet play. Because he was the class rep, Honda was called on stage to receive the award. He got so scared that people would insult him for no reason, so he started shaking. He was about to take the crown when Kawafuji came and said, "Give me the crown, my class was better." Sako quickly put the crown on Honda's head and said this crown was only for him. Then Kawafuji told Honda to give him the crown because he was his only true friend. The crowd got angry that he was stealing Honda's fame, and people started throwing things. Chaos broke out, and Honda thought they wanted to drag him off the stage and bully him. But Kawafuji told him to look carefully. People weren't teasing him, they were celebrating for him. Then, for the first time, Honda understood that no one had ever hated him from the start. It was all in his own head. With this new feeling, Honda took off the crown and said the crown actually belonged to everyone at the festival. Because of his words, the whole field looked as bright as day. Sako was very impressed by Honda's humility and showed him his grand prize, which was a huge Honda parade float. Honda felt strange seeing how much people were worshipping him. Aizawa and the others told him to get on the float. But as soon as Hana was about to climb up, he saw the float was on fire, and if he had really gotten on, there could have been a big accident. Still, people were looking at the burning float like it was a glorious phoenix rising from the flames. The next day at school, Honda finally mixed with his classmates and made new friends.